There are also auxiliary verbs, which are also known as helping verbs. You need to know even the helping verbs. For third person singular, he, she, it, main verb will always take or main verb will always add s along with the main verb. Keep this in mind. If you start writing this activity in present tense, kindly use present tense form of sentences itself. Hello, hi, namaste and welcome to Vidhyaashram, the Temple of Excellence. I am Nanda Kishore, Faculty of English in Vidhyaashram, Mysuru. In my previous session, I had discussed about the topic preposition. In today's session, I am going to discuss about the topic verbs. Why verbs are very important and why it is mandatory that you have to learn verbs. Will the sentence be complete without a verb? Let us discuss all these questions, all these topics in today's session. Let's start with verbs. Now the first question is, what is a verb or what are verbs? A verb is defined as a word which shows action or state of being in simple. Verb andre ಏನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ? Verb ಅಥವಾ verb ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕ್ರಿಯಾಪದ. ಕ್ರಿಯಾಪದ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ರಿಯೆಯನ್ನು ಸೂಚಿಸುತ್ತೆ. A verb is an action word in simple. One word answer is just action word. A verb is showing some action. The verb plays an important role in a sentence. This is very important. Every sentence or a clause must have a verb. Remember this? Every sentence, it is almost 90%. Every sentence we speak should have a verb. Recognizing the forms of verb, there are different forms of verb, strong and weak verbs, finite and non-finite verbs. There are different forms of verb. There are helping verbs. Helping verbs are also called as auxiliary verbs. And under that, there are different bifurcations. You need to know all of these in detail if you want to be thorough about verbs. Recognizing the forms of a verb is often the most important. It is not just important, the most important step in understanding the meaning of a sentence. For example, whether the verb is in past, whether the verb is in present, whether the verb is in future. Understanding the forms of verb is very important. It is the most important if you want to answer the question properly. Now, here is just a couple of exercises and few sentences or few questions that you need to solve. For the level of first PUC, this isn't sufficient. This is just a plain exercise that you get to solve. But if you want to know more, if you want to become a perfectionist about every grammar concept, you need to work beyond the syllabus that is prescribed in your workbook. I'm going to help you with that. But before that, let us solve all the questions, at least maximum number of questions which is prescribed in your syllabus. Now here is a question. Read the following sentences and identify the verb. The very first sentence, I wake up early in the morning. I'm not just going to identify the verb here, I'm going to teach you something more apart from verbs. I is a subject, wake up is the verb. It is an action word. And the most important thing is, as I told you in the previous slide, you need to observe the tenses of the verb. I wake up. Is it in present tense? Is it in past tense? Or is it in future tense? If you see this sentence, it is clearly understood that this sentence is in present tense. I wake up. If we change this sentence into past tense, the sentence would be I woke up early in the morning. Yesterday, I woke up early in the morning. If you change this sentence to future, I will wake up early in the morning tomorrow. So that's how the grammar part, especially the verb part, plays a vital role, pivotal role in grammar. So that context will give you whether the action has taken place already, or it is taking place now, or it will take place in future. Early in the morning, as you know, the complete sentence, you need to know. I wake up early in the morning. I woke up. I will wake up. Shreyas is working. Is working is the verb and the action is still going on. Shreyas is working on his project. He is still working. It is in continuous or progressive tense. Mr. Lingraj has bought a car. He has bought it now. Just observe the auxiliary verbs. If this helping verb or auxiliary verb is changed to had, then the action is over. It is the past. Mr. Lingaraj had bought a new car. He had bought a new car. The action is over. He has bought is present perfect. That's the reason I tell each and every student you need to be thorough with tenses. Tenses is a maxim. It is a mantra to learn basic English. Without knowing, without being perfect with tenses, you cannot be perfect with grammar or English language. Fourth one, the dance program will begin, remember this, will begin at 4 p.m. It will begin. It has not begun. It had not begun. It will begin the future. Fifth, we went to the circus yesterday. We went. The action is over and we are talking about yesterday. We are talking about the previous day. We went. So that is conveying the message to the listener whether the action is over, whether the action is taking place, or it's gonna take place in future. Last one, Harini was sleeping when the phone rang. It is quite easy to underline. It is quite easy to identify the verbs. But when the question is asked in your examination, they are not going to ask you to identify this way. It is going to be a bit complicated, a bit risky, a bit confusing. For that, we are going to solve more number of questions as we proceed further. So this is one type of question. They are going to ask you such questions as well. You can expect such questions in your midterm or preparatory or even in the final examination. Fill in the blanks by choosing the appropriate answer. They might give you an answer in the question paper or they may not. They may just ask you to correct the sentence. There might be an error with the verb, or they might even ask you to just fill in the blanks by giving the answers in the bracket. And your duty is to identify the correct form of the verb and fill in the blanks. Let's start with first question. Don't make noise. You dash me. There are 3 options. The first option is disturbing. Second option, are disturbing. Third one is was disturbing. Don't make noise. You are disturbing me. We know that the sentence here is not giving you any idea about the tense, whether the tense is in present or past or future. If this gives you an idea, depending on this preceding sentence, the previous sentence, the preceding sentence would take this answers. So be careful. Second one, my friend goes to the gym. He goes to the gym because he is wanting, has wanted, wants. It is clearly understood. He wants to be fit because he is going, he goes, and is wanting, wrong, has wanted, completely wrong. The only option is wants. He wants to be fit. Third one, generally they speak in Kannada. Usually they speak in Kannada, but now they in English. They are speaking, is speaking, were speaking. Now, I always tell you, verb is not just an action word. There are also auxiliary verbs, which are also known as helping verbs. You need to know even the helping verbs. Why? Because let me just tell you, are, is and were are also called verbs. They are called helping verbs. And depending on the sentence, if you choose any of these thinking that speaking, the main verb is in continuous tense, but the auxiliary verbs has to fit in to the blank here. But now they are speaking in English. They is plural, so we are going to choose are speaking. But if the sentence is altered, let's take for an example, generally he speaks in Kannada, but now he, just observe this, the subject, they is a subject. If the subject is changed or altered a bit, so will the answer. He is speaking in English. Because he, she, it is singular, third person singular. Depending on the subject, we are going to use the auxiliary verb and the main verb. Fourth one, the sun dash in the east. This is a must-know rule to each and every student. The sun rises in the east. Why? Because we don't use was rising and is rising. It is a universal truth. The universal truth will always be in present tense. The sun rises in the east. The earth rotates in its own axis. The sun revolves around the sun. So that's how you need to know the rule. That's how you need to answer the questions. Let's move on. Again, there are different kinds of verbs and there are different kind of instructions given. Complete the following conversation using appropriate form of the verb given in the brackets. Given in brackets, they have already given the verb. And B form is very important. I have already taught second PUC students. There are different videos, there are various videos based on B forms and do forms. Even they have verbs. As you move on to second PUC, even you will be facing subject verb agreement and verb forms in second PUC workbook. So for a better preparation, you can just go to or visit the second PUC grammar videos and you can watch for deep understanding. There are B forms and do forms. You need to know both of this for this kind of questions. In order to answer this, you can expect this kind for sure. They will be asking you B forms. Most of the times in first PUC board exams, they will definitely ask you B form questions. Mark my words, you need to know B forms. B forms is nothing but is, am, are, it is present, was and were is past. Is, am, are, was, were. These are like B forms. Been, being, and even be. So you need to know B forms, and do forms are do, does, did, and even done at times. So be careful, you need to know both be and do forms. Let us start solving this. While solving this kind of questions, you need to know one rule, one mandatory rule. One mandatory rule is that you need to read the entire dialogue or the conversation. Without reading it, it is very difficult to answer the questions. Let's say, Hari, my parents dash B/plan to go to America. Anil, when dash, they dash, Hari, they. As you read, you will get to know, okay, whether you're reading this sentence in present tense or in the past tense or in future. As you go on reading, start filling the blanks using the verbs given in brackets. Hari, my parents were planning to go to America. Anil, when were they leave? It is highly impossible. As you go on filling the blanks, it should be in one tense itself. Either you choose past tense or present tense or future tense. You cannot just mingle all the three tenses and answer the question. So you get to know this is wrong. You cannot choose past tense. So you are going to answer the question using present tense. My parents, be form, as I told you, are planning. My parents are planning to go to America. Anil, when are they leaving? Remember, be form. Be form is, am, are, was, were. When are they leaving? Next one, hurry. They are leaving. They are leaving next month. They are leaving next month. Anil, are you going with them? Hurry. No, I can't go. I cannot go. Go remains the same with them because I have, even have remains the same because you cannot use past tense form. We have already begun using present tense. Whether you use ing form, continuous form or perfect form, it doesn't matter. But choose one tense while answering the question. This kind of dialogue form should be answered in one tense. Next one. So here is again one such example. You need to choose the right form of the verb and fill in the blanks. Salim Ali is an ecologist. He loves nature. What if he is replaced with they? Let's say Salim Ali and David Attenborough are ecologists. If the sentence is framed, Salim Ali and David Attenborough are ecologists, they, if the verb or the pronoun they, then this fill in the blanks, this verb remains the same. They love nature. Why? Because plural. First, third person singular, remember this, third person singular, he, she, it will always take S. The main verb will always take S. In simple, S will be added to the main verb. This is a logic, this is a trick, this is a rule you need to know. For third person singular, he, she, it, main verb will always take or main verb will always add S along with the main verb. Keep this in mind. Flute is my father's favorite musical instrument. He, I told you, third person singular, he, she, it, and third person plural is they. Don't forget, he, as I told you the rule, keep is base form of the verb and it will take S. He keeps listening to it all the time. This is a simple rule you need to remember. Third one, city life is very expensive. Even food items, concentrate, even food items, it is plural. So when the previous word is plural, then the main verb will be in singular. Even food items cost, it remains the same. Just read the sentence. City life is very expensive. Even food items, plural, food items cost a lot. So these are the rules you need to remember. Now you can expect such question in examination. Maybe for 3 or 4 marks, for sure you can expect such question. They are going to give you 3 or 4 lines or just a small paragraph. It could be from your own textbook. That's the reason we tell you to read the textbook. The more you read the textbook, the better you become. Both from answering the question and answers for the first 50 marks and for the second 50 marks for the grammar part. The more you read the textbook, the better you become. We keep telling the students. Remember this point, store it in your mind. Fill in the blanks with the appropriate form of the verb given in brackets. Again, the same instructions. In the Indian tradition, offering prayers is common in many activities. A dancer, you should always observe the subject and the object. A dancer, singular. As I told you, if a dancer is he, it is third person singular. So the main verb will take S. A dancer offers prayers asking forgiveness to the earth goddess before she begin. Again, it takes S. Before she begins the dance. Chefs offer a prayer to the stove before they is plural, third person plural, so it remains the same. Singular, it remains like singular. They cook for certain religious functions. There, now this is very important, be form, whether to use past tense or to present tense. There are rituals at various stages of building a house. Let's assume for a minute that these blanks will be filled in using past tense, then even this will be in past. Keep this in mind. Next one, we have blanks, but there are no options given next to the blanks. Why? Because the instruction says complete the sentences using for, since, or ago. You are going to make use of only these three words. You are not going to fill in the blanks using any other form of verbs or any other main verbs. You are going to fill in these 5 blanks using for, since, and ago. Let's start solving this. First one, I have been using this bike. Should we use since or for? The answer is for. Why? Because we are talking about the years, not the year in number. Let me just give you more examples on that. I have been using this bike for the last 10 years. She spoke to him 2 years ago. 2 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಿಂದೆ. He has been waiting dash 2 o'clock. Is it for 2 o'clock or ago or since? He has been waiting since. Since when? ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೊತ್ತಿನಿಂದ ಕಾಯ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ? Since 2 o'clock. He has been waiting. The action, remember, been waiting since 2 o'clock. This using since and for is a bit tricky, but take up more examples from your textbook or from any other source and start solving it. You will get the clarification. My friend has been waiting for, he has been waiting for hours. Now you might be thinking, sir, why are we using for here and since here? The number. We have spoken about certain time here. Since then, since 2 o'clock he is waiting, and he has been working for hours, not since hours. They have been working in this office. Now this is the appropriate clarification I can give you. Here we have spoken about hours, years, but here we are speaking about certain year, certain numbers. It is also here and certain number, but when it is written in numericals, since then, they have been working in this office since 1990, and they will go on working even in future. So that's how you need to remember when you see the number, numericals, since is usually used. if you observe any certain brand, let's say Raymond's, since 1850, let's say Nike, since 1950. So that's how it is. And the brand goes on to the future generation. It goes on to manufacture the products for further years. Again, the same sort of verb activity. Complete the sentences by using past tense. The instruction is clearly given here. Using past tense form of the verbs given in brackets. Only past tense. We are not going to make use of present or future. My friend, be forms, I always keep telling be forms, be careful about be forms and do forms. My friend dash when the accident took place, which has already happened. My friend, be form, was driving. This is one of the important rules you need to remember. Was or were plus main verb is drive, the base form. ing will be added here. Whenever you use is, am, are. He is driving, I am driving, they are driving. He was driving, they were driving. So drive plus ing. ing is must. We are talking about progressive tense or continuous tense. After using this was, if you leave out my friend was drive, it is wrong. My friend was driving, because we are talking about past tense. The priest dash visit my father last week. Okay, we are talking about the second sentence. The priest visited my father last week. Under past tense, as we know, there are 4 subtenses under each tense. First is simple past, past continuous or past progressive. Third one is past perfect, and the fourth one is past perfect continuous tense. So you can use any of these 4 subtenses and fill in the blanks. They speak to me about the incident a few hours ago. They spoke. They spoke to me about the incident a few hours ago. Now you might be wondering why they have given be plus drive and why not any other auxiliary verb before visit. If they have not given, no need to add, because the sentence structure will be wrong if you use is, am, are or was, were, any of the auxiliary or so-called helping verb. Don't modify the sentence structure. Don't add any other auxiliary verbs or helping verbs unnecessarily in your examination. Let's move to the next one. In your workbook, if you observe, this is in the form of a table and they have given the instruction saying write a paragraph using the information about John's routine given below. They have given the routine and the time and duration, the activity that is going to perform, and there is a time duration, allotted time that he performs. And using this table, using this slot, you are going to write few sentences about his routine. Just observe routine: getting up 5 a.m., taking a morning walk 15 minutes, studying 2 hours, taking bath around 7:30 a.m., having breakfast around 8:30 a.m., attending classes 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., watching TV an hour, helping parents an hour, very good activity, studying up to 10 p.m., highly impossible, I don't believe, no. Having dinner after 10 p.m., visiting relatives once in a week, watching movies with friends once in a month. So this is the routine or the activity that John performs, and using that you're going to write few sentences. I'm not going to write here in this session. I'm just going to give you some ideas to write on your own. Let us go back to the previous slide and check. See, I'm not limiting each and every student that you should follow certain rules, certain words to write this activity or to write or solve this activity. No, you can always improvise your own answer. There is always scope for improvement. The more vocabulary you know, the more number of words you have in your dictionary, in your mind, you can improvise your answers. You can just make it look beautiful. When the evaluator reads your answers, he should be impressed. If you cannot impress him with your flowery words, it's fine. Use the least minimum grammatically correct English sentence while writing these answers. The first thing, John gets up at 5 a.m. and takes a morning walk. You can alter it, need not be taking a morning walk. You can just modify the answers or the sentences depending on the clues given here. And most important rule is, if you start writing this activity in present tense, kindly use present tense form of sentences itself. Don't club past tense and don't club future. If you begin answering in the past, which is highly impossible, don't do it. You should always answer this kind of activities in present tense itself. Keep this in mind. John gets up at 5 a.m. or John gets up 5 in the morning and takes a morning walk for 15 minutes. Full stop. Always remember, the more number of sentences you break and meaningful sentences you break, the more meaning it gives and more clarity it gives to the evaluator. Try to break the sentences, meaningful sentences, into shorter. Don't write elaborate, lengthy answers. Don't give too much of emphasizing, don't give too much of prominence to write everything in one shot. Don't do it. He gets up 5 in the morning and takes a morning walk for 15 minutes. Full stop. He studies for 2 hours before he takes bath around 7:30 a.m. Full stop. After having breakfast around 8:30 in the morning, he attends the class from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Full stop. So that's how you break the sentences into meaningful one. The more number of sentences you write with meaning, complete meaning, the more marks you get. After coming back from the college or school, he watches television, TV for an hour before he helps his parents for an hour more. And then he starts studying up to 10 p.m. or 10 at night, and later he will have his dinner, full stop, have his dinner, stop there. Once in a week, he visits relatives and he watches movie with his friends once in a month. I have just simplified the answer. You can use more vocabulary, more flowery words and write this question or attend this activity. But this kind of activity will not be asked in your examination, but this helps you in framing the sentences, framing meaningful sentences while writing answers for 50 marks in your board examination. The more efforts you put forth in your first PUC, if you want to go for a trial and error method, sir, I want to know how well I can score my marks. I have a method. I have something in my mind. I have an idea in my mind that I can follow. Can I just experiment it in my first PUC examination? If you have such doubt, yes, of course, we are happy to help you. Try experimenting only in quarterly exams, midterm and preparatory. By the time you reach final examination, you should have cleared all your doubts. No more trial and error method. You should be perfect. And that will reflect for your second PUC. Start following in second PUC examination. In board examination, you should not have even 0.1% of doubt. Remember the point. Let us go to the next one. This is the most important activity under grammar. They can expect 4 marks from you. you can expect this activity, this kind of paragraph in your final exam, both in first PUC and in second PUC for sure. Complete the following paragraph choosing the correct form of the verbs given in brackets. What happens 90% of the times they give you this kind of fill in the blanks, picking up the paragraphs from your own textbook. Let's start solving this. After hearing the Right Honorable Minister Elephant's conclusive evidence, the Commission, now the question is, should we start answering this question in past tense or present tense? Take from me, you have to answer this question in past tense itself. Remember the point, store it in your mind. Let me just solve this again. After hearing the Right Honorable Mr. Elephant's conclusive evidence, the Commission called Mr. Hyena and other elders of the jungle who all supported, we are answering this blanks using past tense, simple past tense, who all supported what Mr. Elephant say. Now, what Mr. Elephant said or had said, you know that they have already taken the evidence. What he had, we're not talking about simple past tense, we are talking about past perfect tense. Had said, because remember, after hearing, the evidence is already given by the elephant. So we are talking about had said. They then called the man who began, simple past tense, who began to give his own account of the dispute. But the Commission cut him short, saying, from here, it is very important. Open up your workbook and observe. This is a quote. These are the words told by somebody, the Inquiry Commission. And there is a rule in English grammar. It says, if you are filling the blanks with the quote or inside the quote, if you are filling the blanks with a quote or the quotes or the words told by somebody else, if these words are in double inverted comma, it means it is told by somebody else and it should be in present tense itself. You may have a doubt, sir, you told that we are going to fill in the blanks using past tense. And how come we are going to fill in the blanks using present tense now? It is a rule. While filling up the blanks, it should be in present tense itself. If the words are told by somebody or if the words are the quotes. If it is a quote or the words told by somebody else, then it should be in present tense itself. My good man, please confine. So there is no change in the verb. Please confine yourself to the relevant issues. We have already heard. Here cannot be the same. We have already heard because the action is taken. It is already taken. So we have already heard the circumstances from various unbiased sources. All we wish you to tell us, B form is. To tell us is whether the undeveloped space in your hut, should we use is or was here? Remember, we are talking about the action which is over. Whether the undeveloped space in your hut was occupied by anyone else before Mr. Elephant assumed his position. you might be confused a bit. Sir, here you used is, and how come we are using was here? We are talking about the action which is over, undeveloped space in your hut was occupied by anyone else before Mr. Elephant assumed his position. Don't get confused. If you realize that the action is over or the past, you have the rights and you are liable to use past tense. You cannot speak about the past action using present form of verb. It's a bit complicated to understand, but try to solve more questions and you will get used to it. Next one. There is an instruction given. Complete the following sentences using simple past. Try to understand simple past or past continuous forms of the verbs. You are going to make use of only simple past and past continuous. He met his teacher while he dashed to the market. He, simple past tense, remember that? Simple past tense or past continuous tense. Either simple past or past continuous tense. He met. Meet, past tense is met. He met his teacher while be form, it is clearly given there, no present tense. It is past tense. So we are strictly going to use past form. While he was going to the market. When I, again be form, when I was at home this evening, it rained. It rained. If the instruction is given that use either past or present, either past continuous or present continuous, you can use when I am at home, present tense. It is right. Since the instruction is given only past, simple past or past continuous, we have to use only past form of auxiliary verb. Last month, my friend was staying in Bangalore, and I go is present and the past is went. I went to see him. Yesterday, he forgot to call me as he was doing his homework. As he was doing, remember the rule, when you are using the auxiliary verb, we are going to use ing form. As he was doing his homework. Rajanna was working in the office when Basavaraj met him. So that's how you're going to make use of the different forms of the verbs, whether in past or present or future. So that's it for today. In the next session, I'm going to talk about subject-verb agreement. It is just an improvised version of verb forms. We are going to discuss what are the rules and why subject-verb agreement is very important. Let's meet in the next session. Until then, keep practicing verb forms. We'll see you in the next session. Have a good day.